All right, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching me across the state in Nigeria. They say taxes, we all pay them, or will I say taxes are all we all pay, but do we truly understand where they go or how they shape our lives in a time of rising costs and economic uncertainty? Nigeria's new tax reforms promises change for a better Nigeria, or should I say a worse Nigeria. It's left open for you all to judge. Again, I welcome you to another interesting edition of Real Talk with Kike. I remain your convener, your executive producer, your host of this platform. My name remains Kike Atanda-Owo. I think it's important for us to hear what On This Day Industry segment has for us. When I return, I give my 2 cents and they stay with me. I'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with me. My takeaway from On This Day Industry segment today is just, as far as I'm concerned, I feel amnesty is just a scam. By history, it has not proved to be a solution. I know I try to keep it real on this platform as much as I can. It's not a discussion for today, to be honest, because will I say the leniency, has shown weaknesses of our government in combating crime and of course the terrorism, the banditry out there. So I think that's my takeaway from On This Day Industry segment. But guys, it's important for us to get a quick message from my sponsors, those who have put me on this platform. And when I return, we'll dive straight to the topic at hand. Stay with me. I'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with me. Nigeria stands at the cusp of a physical transformation with the recent signing of landmark tax reform bills into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in June 2025. The country is embarking on what could become the most ambitious overhaul of its taxation system in decades. Yet, behind the legislation files a much deeper national conversation, one about fairness, federalism, economic resilience, and of course the burden carried by everyday Nigerians. For a country where tax compliance has often been hampered by mistrust, inefficiency, and uneven enforcement, this moment offers both an opportunity and a challenge. Today, I engage my esteemed guest, the president of Chartered Institute of Taxation, CITN. Together, we will dive into the real intentions and scope of the new law or the new tax laws, and who stands by gain or who stands to gain more or lose, how the reforms addresses or ignore the long-standing tension between federal and state revenue powers, whether the tax justice rather than just tax compliance is it truly on the agenda. But before we delve into conversation with my guest, I think it's important for us to play his profile, see his profile, and when we return, we'll be speaking directly with him. Stay with me. I'll be right back. many thanks for staying with us. Let me use this opportunity to quickly usher in my guest, Mr. Innocent Ohagwa. It's a pleasure to have you on Real Talk with Kike today. How are you doing today, sir?
Fine.
Many thanks for creating time to be here. All right, let's just dive straight to the issue at hand, because I know that, we are all pressed for time. You have other engagement, and I want to say thank you so much for creating time to do this with me in the studio. When many Nigerians read the highlights of this tax reform, many rejoice. I could see a lot of jubilation all over the place, because one aspect that low income earners under 250K per month will be spread, and there will be no VAT on some certain commodities from their revenues. I know that this is just a shallow comprehension of the entire body of reform, but as a tax specialist yourself, an analyst, what's your overview, and comments on this new tax reform by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Thank you very much, and thank you again for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Nigerians. It's a pleasure having me around. The bills that have recently been signed by our president is a commendable one. Like I've said in places where I've appeared, that is a giant step that signifies better things to come ahead of this. The 4 bills that are now acts are very covers a wide range of areas. The Nigerian Tax Act, which is can be captioned as a Ease of Doing Business Act, the act that compressed over 63 different taxes and levies into less than a digit number of now taxes and levies. The taxes that will make compliance much easier, and the laws that will give confidence to investors, to prospective investors who want to come into this country, and many more. We also have a Tax Administration Act, which is provides the framework for the administration and compliance, generally, that will affect both federal, state, and local government. We have the third one, which is a joint, Nigerian Revenue Service Act, which replaced the Federal Revenue Service Act, Establishment Act of 2007. That act principally is to make Federal Revenue Service or Nigerian Revenue Service the sole revenue arm for the federation, and is to make it more robust, more efficient, and more compassing, and the benefit will transcend across all the tiers of government. Then we have a Joint Tax Board Establishment Act, which also provided a better and effective governance model for the state's federal government, and created tax ombuds and the tax appeal tribunal. Those are the overview of the 4 bills or 4 acts now. But one thing I can tell you is that generally there are excitement because the landmark provisions in those acts are significant, they are massive, and they will cut across, the benefit will cut across whether you are an individual, whether you are a small business, whether you are a large corporation, or whether you are a government or a subnational. So I think, let me stop.
Many thanks for that elaborate submission right there. There's so many things that you touched on, especially when it comes to investors. But let me before I come to investors, I would like to ask you this, the question about raising this tax exemption threshold to 100 million turnover. Actually, that helps, small, medium organizations. And what's, and the reason why I'm asking this question is because I would like you to, throw more light on the fact that, what stops that larger companies from splitting to unfairly benefit. And the reason why I'm interested in this question is because I'm an entrepreneur with 3 companies. I directly own one. I'm a co-founder with one, and other companies as well, which I have partners from, different media platforms and all of that. I've always been, lamenting on this ease of doing business, that will attract investors, that will attract people that want to say that, okay, they want to even invest into your business. What is the safe haven for entrepreneurs in the new tax regime?
Okay. I will want to put into context so that I don't isolate. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, everything that has to do with incentives, that has to do with reliefs, is captured under Chapter 8 of the Nigerian Tax Act. And that Chapter 8 has 4 parts in that Chapter 8. The first part is talking about income that are exempted. That income that are exempted could be for, income of educational institutions, cooperative societies, activities of government, local government and states. Then you start talking of military officers, other ranks, who are exempted totally from payment of tax. Then the low income. On the low income, you will start talking about what is the threshold. There have been figures that are bandied around relating to what is exempted, but I need to take that in a nutshell. The first 800,000 of any employee or anybody is not liable to tax, is 0. And it can even go up to 1,000 or 1 million, I mean, because there is an exemption for being rent. For if you are living in the house that is not your own, and you can tell us what you pay and give the details of the landlord you pay it to, you'll be entitled to another additional relief of 200,000, which will make the 800 to become 1 million. For those who earn up to 1.7 million, their rate of tax declines when you compare to what it is now. So if you look at the threshold, the first 800 is not taxable. If you have additional 2.2 million, you have 15%. If you have additional 9 million, you have 18%. Then if you have 13 million, additional 13 million, you have 21%. If you have additional 25 million, that will bring everything up to date now to 50 million. That will give you 23%. And if you are earning above 50 million, then you'll be taxed at the rate of 25%. Okay. So you now find out that the focus of this is for those who are earning, low and medium. But the top earners will definitely need to pay more. It is in line with the trend in taxation, what we call progressive taxation. The more you earn, the more you get, the more you pay. So that is for individual. Then, if you want to talk about small businesses, by definition, currently now, it is 25 million. If you have 0 to 25 million, you won't pay tax, But now it has been increased to 50 million. So if you have that, you will not pay tax. VAT, you will not pay. Even withholding tax, you will also not pay. And such company will not be an agent to deduct and remit a source. Now, you were talking about having 2-3 companies and all whatnot. You find out that before now, the issue of data It's an issue. But going forward, there will be deployment of technology, which will make it apparently difficult for you to hide your transactions. So it will become feasible, and it can actually, even without technology, those who are experienced in tax review can tell you that when you're understating your figures in tax or accounting returns, it's like burying someone in a shallow grave. The hands or the leg may protrude. But now with the deployment of technology, there will be no hiding place. So for small businesses, there are a lot. Again, if I can take you to VAT. VAT has up to 49 different items that have been taken away. These 49 items, you categorize them into three. The first part is exempted items. Exempted items, there are 15 in number under the Chapter 8 of NTA. The second category is the category we call zero-rated. And I will explain the difference in this term. That is 19, which makes it 44. We have Schedule 11 of NTA Act, which has 5 different sources of income that are suspended, like petroleum, CNG, gaseous product, and all whatnot. There are 5 in number. If you add that 5 to 44, there are 49. So what is the message here? The message here is that if there is fear about the trueness or the implication of this law, is that in the short run, the federal may collect less. Because all these 49 items, many of them currently are liable to tax. But now they are either exempted or zero-rated. And when you are zero-rated, the implication is that you pay at zero, but in the course of your business chain, you may incur input VAT. You still come back to government for a refund.
Okay, sir, I hear you loud and clear, just to manage time, because I must ask you, why was the tax on company profit from selling assets like properties, like shares, increased sharply from 10% to 30%? And the reason why I'm asking this is because how do you think this will affect the investments in Nigerian businesses? How would this government, track tax profits made outside Nigeria when foreign companies sell shares that indirectly, however we look at it, control the Nigerian companies? Because, since the 4% of development levy replaces other specific taxes, now you were talking about, VAT that is like 49 items and all of that. Now, with these specific taxes that I'm referring to, I'm talking about the likes of education and police. How will the government guarantee that this money is still spent effectively on those important areas? How will they ensure that this new rule, will largely cover the multinational companies that pay at least 15%, of tax work in practice, especially for company groups with subsidiaries? Because, in this country, we like to deceive ourselves. There's a lot of COVID and the likes and all of that, why they think that they are still doing the right thing. So I would like you to throw a lot of light on this. Elaborate for us.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, we need to trust. I know there's a trust deficit.
Yes.
But you need to give it to this particular government.
All right.
Within 2 years, less than 2 years, this presidential committee was set up. The act is yes, Oyedele and his committee members. So I can tell you that that feeling that, will this thing work or will it not, should not arise at this point. Now, you mentioned the issue of increasing the rate for capital gains tax. You see, if everything is waived, you waive here, you remove this, If government too does not, out of 100 that you waive, you just introduce 1 or 2 to complement. Mind you, that tax is a payment. Any decent citizens need to do to ensure that the society is protected. Because without tax, how will government execute the numerous projects, fund securities, and then provide for the entire citizens? So, but the focus of this bill now is not government raising revenue, because it has a lot of development implications, it has a lot of welfare issues, it has a lot of advantages to the majority of people. The other areas where the rate is increased is also to compensate. You are talking about development levy. Before the introduction of development levy, we have in bank taxes that are more than 4%. You have police levy, you have tertiary education, you have NACINA, you have NIGDA. Various of them, even compliance issues were a problem, apart from higher rate. This development levy is to harmonize. Just one single rate of 4%, and then it will be prorated at the back end to the other sectors. So, to go straight to your point, you see, these laws that have been enacted now is for the benefit of all of us, and we need to support it. If we don't support it, then we don't want the best for our country. And each time we rush out of this country where things are working, it's because of taxes. When you go abroad, you see that you pay these taxes with a smile, because you find if you don't pay, they will catch you. And in the new regime now, it may take some time, but I can tell you that if you are those who are supposed to pay and you don't pay, the arm of the law will catch up with
All right, many thanks for that elaborate submission. We'll go on a quick break now. When I return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with me. I'll be right back. This is Real Talk with Kike. All right, glad to know you're still right there with us. In case you just joined the show, we've been having real talk around Nigeria's bold new tax reform journey, unpacking the implications of the recent signed Tax Reform Act of 2025. And with me is no less than the president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, Mr. Innocent Ohagwa. Thank you. Thank you so much. A seasoned voice in fiscal policy and tax administration, from the restructuring of the Federal Inland Revenue Services into a more autonomous Nigerian Revenue Service, to the introduction of a harmonious, tax code, capital gains adjustments, and a fresh push for fairness in personal income taxation. These reforms, promise a shake-up that could redefine Nigeria's economic landscape. Again, I want to say many thanks, sir, for all that you've shared thus far. But quickly, let me use this opportunity to open the phone lines. For those who are watching us across the states, remember that you can be part of the conversation by calling the studio number showing on your screen right now. We're streaming live on Facebook, both on Silverbird platform and on Real Talk with Kike platform. And sir, again, I say thank you for creating time to do this with us, lending your voice on issues that affect us all, whether from SMEs to investors to, property shares, name it. But when we compare Nigeria to many developed countries like US and UK, these countries rely heavily on tax for development, especially in a country like UK that don't rely on natural endowments. My question is this: tax is a way to complement our revenues at all three tiers of government. So how would this tax reform, or tax reform aid revenue, for the government help us, with a better life? Again, before you answer the question, I remember, yesterday I watched, Abdurrashid Bawa on Arise television. He was discussing about the fraud, in the crude oil sector, from his own experiences and the perception of the systematic flaws and leakages in our country that we have. Corruption is one major challenge. I don't want to use the word problem. How are we curbing or drastically reducing that negative and retrogressive effect of corruption in our revenue collection in Nigeria? Earlier when you were talking, you said there's trust deficit, and I feel that you need to tweak it to these two questions that I'm asking you.
Okay, let's break it down. One, you are emphasizing increasing revenue, and I've said that the focus of these 4 bills is not only on revenue increase. That may be a fallout after those who are not in the tax net, the tax evaders, and our processes are streamlined. And that is what these 4 acts are expected to address. You are talking about corruption. Yes, if we want corruption to stop, or we don't want it to continue, we should support this act because it has introduced technology. It has introduced a lot of innovation. Let me give you an example on economic development incentive under Chapter 8. Before, we used to have pioneer status, and pioneer status had a lot of issues. Now, this current administration have reformed it and introduced what we call, economic development incentive under Part 2 of Chapter 8. And this is supposed to provide, a platform whereby those items, those products or services that are fundamental to the growth, employment, and standard of living of the country, where they can be encouraged to invest. And the system is made in such a way that you have a threshold, you have a sunset clause, and you find out that it can monitor itself, unlike the current pioneer incentive. So all these things, if we are talking about checking corruption, we should support the law. We should support, the acts that have been passed. When they are fully implemented, it may not be implemented immediately or at once, but you will find out that most of these things will be a thing of the past. The first thing is for us to do the little we can do on our own to support the effort of government. And at the end of all, it will be a win-win situation for everybody. But if we stay back and we don't give a chance, to implement these reforms, then how do we expect change to come?
Okay, I understand the perspective you are coming from, but while expanding that list of essential goods with 0% VAT,
yes,
which is good for consumers,
yes,
how would the new law, the new rule, allowing all businesses, to recover VAT that they pay on their own cost, like suppliers and equipment and all of that, actually that makes even things cheaper or easier for them? How do we move forward from that? What is the real power with this new tax, will I say, ombuds office that have now quickly unfairly resolved dispute between taxpayers and tax officials, and now will now truly be independent? Because sometimes what we call independence in Nigeria, as a caveat, I would like you to throw a lot of light on that for a layman who is watching us right now that needs, better understanding of it.
Thank you very much for that question. The 4 acts are very big, so it's truly only your question that I can address specific. You talked about VAT costs. Before now, if you purchase an asset, a motor vehicle, you need to capitalize it with input VAT and claim it over the useful life. But now in the new act, you are entitled to expense or claim it as an input. So all costs that are, that qualify as input as defined under the law, you are to claim it. The model of the VAT in Nigeria now has aligned with that of international best practice. So I can tell you, like I said at the beginning, that if there is any fear I'm exercising, is that government may in the short run get less, because they have given out so much. And why there are no criticism coming in, because we know that what government has given is 100 times than what they are getting. But what this thing will tell us that to encourage everybody to be transparent, don't under-declare your turnover, because if you are caught, the consequences are high. The interest and penalties have been increased under the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So the offenses of the past, is just a child play. So now, if you have a refund, the reform will be given to you before audit.
Okay.
But will be tie that taxpayer who will claim what does not belong to that company. The consequences will be high because you find out that Nigerians want to make sure that the confidences are built up, for every taxpayer. So be it refund, be it claim of input on VAT, everything has been given out. I can tell you that it will impact in the collection, in the short run. But in the long run, when you can no longer hide your data, then the advantages will come. You will find out that there's no particular increase of tax rate for any category of people. The reason is because they want to bring those who are not in the tax net. The focus is not those who are already paying, but there are those who are liable to pay who are not in that tax net.
Okay.
So that is the focus of the reform,
right,
to make sure that everybody's on board.
Is on board. All right. Many thanks for that. This might be my last question to you because of time. And the question I'll be asking right now is about the new clearer rules on who counts as a resident for income tax that might, bring more people into this tax net. How will this new rule, affect foreigners working temporarily in Nigeria or Nigerians working abroad? And because the reason why I'm bringing also this question to follow is because I've seen a lot of debate on that, on expatriates and the likes and all of that. Because again, this reforms aim to make business owners or businesses easier and collect more taxes. What specific steps is the government taking to ensure that the rising more money, e.g., for instance, the higher capital gains tax, the minimum tax, doesn't it accidentally, discouraging the investors or investments needed to grow the economy, to be enlarged? I don't know. What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you very much. You have raised so many things, but let me pick them one after the other. You are talking about minimum tax.
Yeah.
That is part of the advantage of this act. Minimum tax before was based on the asset turnover and all whatnot. That has been removed. And that's what we also call pre-operational levy, which is supposed to, or pre-operation expenses for the first 6 years, which is supposed to be capitalized. Under the new law, they are supposed to be expensed. So you are talking about resident and non-resident. I'm going to give you in generic term because, the law that has been signed, some of us have not seen it,
yes,
yet to be gazetted. So the debate that we are going along are the basis of the things that either the National Assembly raised or the first draft and all whatnot. But in general, if you are a non-resident and you derive income in Nigeria, you are liable to pay tax. Because we have under our Section 13 what we call significant economic presence, or what we call a PE. So if you derive income in Nigeria that is within the threshold of 25 million as it is today, not under the new act, you is liable to tax. Now, for a residence is taxed on the basis of what we call worldwide income. Worldwide income is income that you received in or you brought into Nigeria or accrued in Nigeria or derived from Nigeria. Wherever it takes place, is liable to Nigerian tax. Then we are talking about also the people who have a mix of living in Nigeria and working abroad, either virtually or otherwise. The first principle is that every income that a resident Nigerian, earns is liable to tax. But if you are earning that abroad, earning part of it or all abroad, then the employer there will also require you to pay tax. And in the spirit of double taxation arrangement, you are allowed to relieve that you have paid. If the one you earn there is higher, the higher of there or here, you know. But if they are almost the same, then they may knock off. So I just want to stop here.
All right, many thanks again for all your submission thus far. But before I let you go, there's the last segment of the show that we call Trending Stories. These are stories that binds us as Nigerians, as Africans. And the first trending story that caught my attention is that of the business lady that was denied entry into US because of social media platform. This is where I have an opinion as a host. I'm sure that you must have seen this video trending in the last 48 hours regarding this lady that was deported, you know, when she was about, you know, entering the United States. But what happened to that young Nigerian businesswoman, you know, detained for 24 hours, you know, like I said earlier, denied entry into the US despite having a valid visa, is deeply troubling, but it's also an urgent lesson for every one of us, you know, those who are listening to me right now, that especially our youth, you know, the hustling entrepreneurs. Let's be clear, a visa is not a guarantee of entry. Immigration officers have full discretion to actually admit or reject a traveler based on inconsistency, suspicious or inefficiency of documentation at the point of entry. So it's time for us to truly take time to understand that the digital age comes with both pros and cons. You know, many of us have been suffering on the advantage, or would I say, yeah, advantages of social media and its benefits, but especially as businesses or business owners and individuals, we have enjoyed the liberty of expression. That visibility it gives our brands, access and global, you know, audience, the fame, the attention, the momentum that comes with online movement. However, we have failed to realize that governments around the world have their own agendas. And there's now an immigration perspective to social media and the digital space. Our personal and digital information is collated, is curated, and are vested on a larger scale by these countries. Now that we even have the likes, the AI, we are in the AI race. The desperation of these countries to get every and any data is reckless, and they can manipulate it against anyone or any country. So countries are increasingly, you know, protective of their borders, who they allow into their territories. There's a stark reality that we must now live with. Just as you wouldn't let anyone into your own personal home without knowing their intentions, not just because they are familiar, but because you want to be sure that they pose no threat to your environs. Nations are now doing the same. Sometimes you won't even let friends into your personal space because you need your privacy and peace. I speak from a place of that. We need to start viewing international borders, you know, or border controls through these lenses as well. Every traveler has an intent, an agenda from whatever, from now or whenever, that will face a deeper scrutiny than we've ever seen before, especially with this Trump's administration. This is the age where we must censor ourselves before we are censored. This is not the time to be foolish, for lack of a better, or nonchalant, maybe that's the word to use now, with our keypads. All those keypad warriors at the expense of our names and our brands. You see people talk carelessly on socials, they write anything and anything. You like things that you are not supposed to like. Those lies can bring you, pull you down tomorrow. We don't need to damage our reputations just to jump on meaningless hashtags, social media trends, or want to be seen. You don't know certain people, you go to their pages, you like their pages, sometimes you don't even understand the content of what they have put out there you like. These are lessons that we must take a cue from. But here is where it's hard for me. I must emphasize that your digital footprint is now part of your immigration profile, your Instagram page, your DMs. Sometimes we think DMs is private. They play, as they say. Your business posts, all of it can be used to question your intent in any case. You know, I watched the video back to back. She said she was attending a trade fair, but the message, and you know, her messages have just suggested otherwise or implied that she was coming to conduct a direct business or sales, which violates the terms of the B1, B2 visa. So to our people who are traveling, know your visa category and its limitations. Maybe I should emphasize on that. Align your declared travel purpose with your online activities. Do not assume that, oh, it's just casual, they've allowed me entry, you don't know who is watching you. You know, we even have a lot of monitoring spirits among our family members, among friends, among workers, not to now talk of immigration officers. So we want to be seen, or you know, we must start interpreting things differently. Prepare documentation, invitation. You know, the event, what's it called, registration that you are being invited to, the proof of your return visa. And be ready to explain why you are there. In this digital age, transparency and consistency and legal awareness are no longer optional. They are survival tools. I think I should hold my breath here, sir. What do you have to say to this?
Thank you very much. You have provided a lot of the answers to your question. But be it as it may, one thing is key. She may have been deported not on the we don't know the reason on the face of it. You know, there are other issues.
You are going by what she said.
Yes. No, I won't rely on what she said. When I traveled to US to go and see my daughter, because we from Nigeria, we entered the same line during the visa clearance. So the first person, the second person, you know, had a lot of questioning. So they also subjected me to a lot of questioning. But they took my passport, went into one room, and later came out and said they are sorry. That where do I work? I said I work with the equivalent of IRS in US. They apologize for wasting my time. You know, if you have where you are working is not clear, your mission is not clear, and your social handles and all this social media, you have been making posts that are very hostile. You know, then it can be a ground for deportation.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm done. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much for lending your voice and, of course, sharing your own experience with the issue at hand. But quickly, the second trending story that I will be touching on right now is that of a tribute to Kayode Peters, like I often call him when he was alive, KP, a true life gem. Let me start by saying this loss has, you know, shattered me deeply. You know, when my cousin broke the news to me, even before he hit the social media, a day before he hit the social media. But Kayode Peters, you know, like he's fondly called by loved ones, KP, wasn't just a respected figure in the entertainment industry. He was family to me. Have had a close relationship, you know, with him and his family for over 20 years, over 2 decades. You know, hearing the news of his passing left me broken and reflective in ways I didn't even expect. What makes it even harder, you know, is the regret I carry today. Just 2 months or 3 months or thereabouts, you know, I missed the burial of their father, you know, a painful miss that still weighs heavy on me. The elder sister, Sister Lara, you know, Debbie, is someone I hold very dear. You know, she tried as much as possible to remain in contact with me. She tried to, you know, she created a WhatsApp group to coordinate their father's burial and added me. You know, and I didn't even know, you know, I'm in so many WhatsApp groups that I got lost, and I avoid WhatsApp groups, to be honest. So there are some that I've muted and the likes, and I think I stumbled on the WhatsApp group one day over the weekend, you know, 2 or 3 days before the event. And when I was even trying to go scroll through the message, I saw that he had over 5,000 messages inside that group. I felt like, where am I going to catch up? So I felt really bad. She tried to reach out to me for Ashebi, for this, you know. And during that period, I was also going through my own personal low in my own life that people most times don't even know that people have their own struggles. But, you know, I still show up at work. Unfortunately, I couldn't just show up. I could not return her calls, even as she reached out back to back. If only we are humans, or we humans rather, know what's lay ahead or what's ahead of us, we would go beyond our limitations to make time for one another. I know I feel I've let her down, you know, and I've let myself down as well too. So, you know what, I just want to use this medium to say that Sister Lara is not just, you know, a friend, but a sister, a close associate. She has visited my home back to back. There are very few people who can enter my bedroom, you know. She's one of those who have entered my bedroom in the past. You know, for you to come into my personal space like my bedroom, I consider you a sister, a family. So all of this just shattered me, and I just want to say, despite all that we are going through, you know, me going through my own lows, which was in and out of hospital at the time, because I still show up at work engagement, even from straight from the hospital down to work and all of that. I felt that I should have just pushed myself for that, to show up for her, to be there for her. I would have seen KP2 on that day. So it hits me deeply. Kayode himself had a strong, you know, belief in me. I remembered, you know, 17 or 18 years ago, you know, he once encouraged me to consider acting. You know, when I even think about it, it's very amusing to me, because I was like, what do you see in me that you think I should come and be an actress? You know, even suggesting I appear on Flatmates, you know, because he saw potentials in me, according to him. You know, he also once tried to matchmake me with one of his close friends, you know, I think Kayode Kweku or so, and all of that. So, you know, I remember attending KP's wedding, like it was yesterday, with Alex, his wife. So it was, you know, KP was just a vibrant, driven, full of love, passion for his craft. This loss is not just personal, it's a reminder we all need to do better as individuals. Life is happening to every one of us all at the same time. Sometimes all at once. But amidst the business, the pain, the personal battles that the world might not see, let's not lose sight of those who are important to us. Let's show up for them. Let's push ourselves, because that is the weight, that's the grief I'm even carrying right now. Let's be more empathic. Thank you. Everyone is going through something. And sometimes your presence, your call, your time is the healing someone needs. Let me just use this medium to say that, KP, please rest well. I pray God comforts your wife. I pray God comforts your children, your family at large, your mother. We cannot feel the pain more than your family. But you continue to hold a dear place in our hearts. With that, I don't know, what do you have to say quickly to
just accept my sincere condolences. It's unfortunate, but God knows the best, and I wish that God receive the soul in perfect peace.
Amen. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
With that, we've come to the end of Real Talk with Kike, and I want to say many thanks to my resourceful guest, Mr. Innocent Ohagwa. Ohagwa, okay. The president of Chartered Institute of Taxation, CITA. Many thanks again for creating time to do this with me on my lunch show. This is where I draw the curtains of the show. Till I come your way on Thursday, please catch me tomorrow on Inspiration FM 92.3. My name remains Kike Lomo. Atanda-Owo. Bye now.